So the topics I'll be talking about, be giving you guys an idea of SSI's vision, as well as how we see the future. And the importance of that is that, for us to attain our vision, we are looking at what the future of shipbuilding is going to be, so you can kind of see what direction we're kind of moving towards, and kind of put in context everything that you're kind of seeing today.
They switched the battery and it just went 20 slides
Oh,
forward.
okay. Done. That was not even 2 minutes. And then I'll be talking about the evolution of SSI. So pretty much how we've evolved in this future of, or where we see the future of shipbuilding. So the vision of SSI is to empower companies to focus on the business of shipbuilding. And this means a lot to us. First is that we are focused on the business of shipbuilding. That is our primary focus. And the key thing about empowering companies to focus is that we all know that the business of shipbuilding is very, very complex. And the idea from our organization is that we want to focus on all this other stuff, mainly focus around technology, so our clients and users can focus on the business of shipbuilding. And the important thing about our vision is that for us to fully attain it, is that we require a lot of partners, being our resellers, our users, as well as our partners that are extending our ecosystem to fully attain our vision. So our vision is not something that we can do alone. We need many others. So you hear a lot about this digital twin, digital shipyard, digital thread, and just enter any other marketing buzzword that's out there today. And I use a lot of digital twin and digital thread in my conversations, but the real reason is because it has a good understanding or a decent understanding of what it really is. But going forward, in 2-3 years when there's another marketing buzzword, we might be using a different term. But the idea, the philosophy, the methodology is exactly the same. The idea of what people think today is a digital twin and digital thread. So what we think the digital twin and digital thread is something that follows the entire life cycle of your ship. All the way from concept to initial design, detailed design, production engineering, manufacturing, commissioning, warranty, in-service life cycle, MRO, all the way down to decommissioning. So for this digital thread and this digital twin, pretty much at every part of the life cycle, you're either consuming information from the digital twin or you're producing information that will be part of your digital twin. So if you're just producing digital data that's in a silo, that's not really part of your digital twin. It has to be in this kind of platform of this idea of all this information that has to be linked with relationships and information. So what are some of the benefits that we see from the digital twin and digital thread? Well, first one, removing of silos. This is removing silos from our internal organization, from our software, but also our people, but also external to our organization. So getting our stakeholders as well as our data from external to our organization, kind of removing all those silos. Then you have global collaboration. We all know that shipbuilding is a very global industry, and you need to be able to communicate and collaborate in an efficient manner to accomplish your tasks. Third is to be able to find, discover, and leverage information or reuse information. So there's studies that say that we spend about 20% of our time looking for information. So if you think that if we can just solve that one problem, that will significantly improve our businesses. Then discoverability is the idea that you can discover information that will allow you to complete your action or your activity that you didn't know you needed, but you actually do need. And the last but not least is the reuse of information, where we know that there's so much digital artifacts that are being created from different organizations, different vendors, and how can you leverage this information? And it's not just one piece of digital information, it's a collection of digital information. So how can you reuse that and not have to re-enter all this information as you move through your life cycle of the vessel. Operational excellence is the idea that's really driven a lot of this digital twin and digital thread discussions. And it's about maximizing your asset. So once it's delivered, how can I improve its performance? How can I make better decisions? And even just do preventative maintenance or schedule that a little bit more effectively. Ultimately, the digital twin and digital thread is about making better decisions. So if you look at all this stuff about having up-to-date information, collaboration, removing your silos, it in essence allows you to make better informed decisions. Not the best decisions per se, but better or more informed, better decisions. Last but not least, we hear about all this technology. We hear AR, VR, IoT, smart manufacturing, 3D manufacturing. And all this requires digital information, but it requires digital information that can be consumed. And it's not consumed by one vendor, one company, it's consumed by multiple organizations and multiple pieces of digital artifacts. So a lot of this digital twin and digital thread allows us to organize our data and kind of leverage it to support a lot of these new technologies. So you hear a lot about digital twin, and then there's also this digital thread. And a lot of people, when they talk about digital twin, they also mean that there's aspects of digital thread. But I just want to at least communicate some of the differences between a digital twin and a digital thread. So a digital twin is more about today, is about my asset and information of it today. So for example, if I have a pump on my vessel, the digital twin data would be its user manual. As well as its real-time performance monitoring system from its IoT device. So it's more about the content. The digital thread is more about how, or my intent. Why is my pump there? So for that exact same example, if you think of the pump, on determining why it's there, I would have to follow the digital thread to find out the requirements it's satisfying on why that pump is there. As well as if I want to know why I have that particular supplier or manufacturer for that pump, I would have to again traverse my digital thread, my life cycles, to find out why I picked that supplier or manufacturer. So the difference between the digital twin and digital thread is digital twin is more about the content, the now, and your digital thread is more about your intent, your why. So when you talk again about all this stuff, the question that we always ask ourselves at SSI is who's really wants a digital twin? And I know with the marketing buzzwords and the marketing reports, everybody says they want a digital twin. But in essence, what they're really looking for is solutions to their business challenges. And this is important because as this digital twin is so huge, people are focusing on how I can create this digital twin without really realizing what business challenge is it going to solve. So it's really important for us as SSI and as everybody is that you first really have to determine what challenges you want to solve, because we have a lot of challenges that we could solve, but which ones do we want or which ones do we need, and then figure out how we can actually build up on the digital twin or digital thread to achieve our goals. So it's more of a how, not a why, but we have to determine our why before we determine our how. So how is this all going to be implemented from a more technology perspective? The way that we don't think it's going to be implemented is that you're going to have all these different applications, as well as many, many hundreds, if not thousands of Excel databases or Access databases and so forth, and have them connected in an ad hoc manner. We just don't think that is a viable solution for shipbuilding or any industry, and it really creates a house of cards. We also don't think on the other side of the pendulum is that you're going to have this one big monolithic solution that's going to contain all your digital twin data or your digital thread data, and then you're going to have apps that feed off it. It's a fallacy. There's many people that have attempted it, and it just does not work in our industry, but as well as any other industry out there that's of equal complexity. So the strategy that we think, or that we've been moving towards, and this is what we've been moving towards for pretty much our existence, is what I like to call this platform of platform ecosystem. And it's kind of in the middle of these two systems, where you have these larger platforms that have a substantial piece or a substantial amount of data with its relationships that's connected to other platforms that also have substantial pieces of information. But it's as a first-class citizen that it knows that it has to distribute and consume information from other platforms. So your digital twin and your digital thread will span multiple platforms. So there's not one solution, one product, one platform that is your digital twin and digital thread. It spans platforms. Now, to add some complexity, but keeping it real, is that these platforms are going to be owned by different companies. So you're not going to have your digital twin and digital thread contained in one company. It's going to span platforms and span companies. Now, to even add more complexity, but it's all reality, is that these platforms are going to be created by different vendors. And if you look at your organization or any organization, there's not one vendor that has all their information or is a platform. There's multiple vendors that you have in your own company to support your business. So what this means is that your digital twin and your digital thread, again, all this information and its links that cross the entire life cycle of the ship is going to span multiple platforms across multiple companies created by different vendors. And it's important for us to know this because from SSI, where we see ourselves is that we're a piece of the puzzle. We obviously think that we're a significant piece, but we know that we're only a piece of this whole digital twin and digital thread. And this really changes the philosophy of how you actually provide solutions to our customers and to our users. Because the idea, if you know that you are a piece of this puzzle, you know you have to be able to easily communicate information to other platforms and be able to consume information as a first-class citizen. It can't be something that you try to hog all your information or keep the data hostage and try to get everybody into your system. That's just not a strategy that will work in the future and not a strategy that's really driving us. So, how has SSI evolved in this platform ecosystem? Well, if I break it down into, from new construction, because that was our main area that we focus. Obviously, we do some in the MRO, but we'll say that in the main focus for 10 years ago. And we've been in business for 30 years. I think 30 years is our birthday next year, so we see something big on that. But if you break this down into more the engineering side, or production engineering, and the other side is more ship management. In the engineering side, there is more your CAD Plus or your CAD CAM, and inside there, that's where SSI lived 10 years ago, or 10 or more years ago. And as you're aware, that is where we have ShipConstructor, our multi-CAD system that's more of a work in progress. It's more like, the best analogy I heard was it's like a painting. As you paint over top of it, you don't know what's behind it. It's always current. And as you guys all know, which I won't get into too much detail, it allows multiple disciplines all working on the same database. But the key thing is that it is a multi-CAD environment. There's some features and functionalities that we added, I say recently, but it's been, I think, 4 or 5 years, that allows us to reference a lot of this CAD information that comes from outside our environment, but it's still in the ecosystem of SSI. So you're able to reference that information and in some cases even convert it into native objects. And so you see some of in the roadmap, we even are going to extend this functionality mainly because we know that we're in this platform of platform ecosystems and we're going to have to consume information as a first-class citizen from these other systems. So, and this was all going well, but some of the challenges that we had is that a lot of organizations were trying to, they were connecting ShipConstructor to other business systems, your ERP systems, your MES, your PLM systems, and so forth. And because of the philosophy we have a totally fully open architecture, so all the data is accessible. We have 4 or 5 different types of APIs depending on the type of information you had. But we found some challenges. And the first challenge that we had is that the people that were integrating using our APIs into their business systems, when we had a new version of ShipConstructor, they had a hard time upgrading. And the reason why they had a hard time upgrading is because they were tied to their business systems, which is significant for any organization. That now they had to align their engineering updating with their IT, because IT had to verify that all the integrations work. So it was a challenge on how they would align their business for both of them to be updated. The second challenge is that pretty much everybody that was integrating with ShipConstructor was doing 80% of the same amount of work. So it didn't matter if you're integrating with this ERP or that MES system or that PLM, 80% of the effort of getting that initial information is exactly the same. The third challenge is because many of our customers, you guys, are in the business of shipbuilding. You don't have the IT infrastructure to expand and to use our APIs to integrate with your business systems. So this is why we started building this enterprise integration. And this enterprise integration was primary focus was how can we get information in any context that you require to drive or to integrate with your business systems. So this allowed you guys to get this information very quickly, be consistent, and didn't need a lot of IT infrastructure. But this also had a lot of benefit for SSI, because what this now allowed us to do is that we didn't have to worry about changing our database schema and affecting any integration. As long as we followed the contract that was part of the enterprise integration, that we were able to change anything from ShipConstructor. So again, our database schema, which changes all the time, but also if we want to change our SQL backend, if we want to change it to Oracle, or if we want to change the AutoCAD and go more into the cloud, it didn't really matter that at the end of the day, as long as we followed the contracts of this enterprise integration, that you guys would be able to not see any challenges when you upgrade. So this is where you start hearing about the information hub. And a lot of the presentations that you see the information hub, and when you see Publisher LT. So Publisher LT has the same engine as the information hub, but the information hub is more of an enterprise solution that is enterprise managed, versus the Publisher LT is more individually run and managed. So this starts going into our open shipbuilding platform. And there was a lot of integrations that we worked with this. So for the last over 5 years, worked with many companies, many partners on how we can integrate with their systems. And this is just a list that I have that are just a short list, I suspect. But once you start exporting to Excel, everyone can import from Excel, so there's a lot of other integrations that we have there. So the challenge that we had at this time is that with all these integrations, I was still looking for someone or some organization that we can integrate with a more of a management system. So as you know, the ShipConstructor is more of the work in progress, but you need to manage your deliverables. When you deliver it to your customer, to the shipyard, you need to have some way of managing it from revisions or even managing change and many different workflows, requirements management, and so forth. And the challenge that I had was working or trying to find some partners is that I found these partners were not really focused in shipbuilding. So that was one challenge. Because shipbuilding, we are unique, probably not as unique as many of us think we are, but we're still a unique industry. And the second challenge is that some people wanted to work with us, or a few wanted to work with us, but they wanted to wait till a customer paid for it. And the challenge is that which customer wants to pay for this initial integration? Customers, because you guys are in the business of shipbuilding, you want to buy a product that just does the integration. You don't want to have to pay for this whole project, this vaporware initially, and implement it. So after searching around, I actually had a meeting with the Aris CEO. I was at one of the conferences and over a couple of drinks, and we found out, or what I found out after, is this Aris PLM system is not really just a PLM or information management system. It's more of a platform. And if you look at the strategies that SSI has used, is that when we base our stuff on Autodesk, when we base it off SQL, they're more platforms. And then we build the shipbuilding layer on top of it. And that was the exact same thing that we could have done, or we could do at that time with Aris, is that if we use the PLM functionality that has a lot of great functionality from the user interface, it has the revisions, the workflows, it has a lot of benefits, as well as being able to connect to other systems. So That's where we started building our information platform. It's based off the Eris platform, but again, we have a layer on top of it, which makes it specialized for the shipbuilding industry. So this is where you start seeing the digital hub and some of the conversations that we have here. And it's part of our whole portfolio, so the information that comes from ShipConstructor goes through the information hub, which is, again, the same engine as the publisher LT. So we're dog-fooding our integration platform. We're not just using the integration platform for other products. We're using the integration platform for our own products. That's how we're communicating information. And the digital hub, initially, that has been released, is solely focused on ShipConstructor data. So how can I get all this ShipConstructor data, its relationships, into this information management that can help you manage your data? So accessing it, managing change, that's really, again, focused on how shipbuilders work. But with that, you'll see extensions. We saw some mentions of it at this conference on our shipbuilding PLM. And our shipbuilding PLM is an extension of the digital hub, where the digital hub, again, is focused on ShipConstructor data. The shipbuilding PLM has the same capabilities as a digital hub from the ShipConstructor perspective, but we're allowing it a lot more extensibility. So extending into your business. So you talk about requirements management, your functional designs, your initial designs, your warranty workflows, your deliverables, your change management. All that will be able to be managed in your shipbuilding PLM. So the kind of the focuses that we have for the shipbuilding PLM is to manage and organize all your data. So not just data that comes from ShipConstructor. We also are focusing on how we can manage and understand change, which understanding change is the key point that we're trying to tackle, at least initially. Then it's focused on the shipbuilding industry. It also has an idea of an enduring foundation. So similar as when we create ShipConstructor, you can still work the way that your business works. It doesn't constrain you. Same way the shipbuilding PLM will allow you to extend to make it work for your business. And the last and one of the key aspects of the shipbuilding PLM is that we're striving for, as with all our products, is to get it up and running within 1 day. We're not there yet, but we're very, very close. So it's not a big implementation. When you hear PLM in many industries and even our shipbuilding industry, you look at something really big that's going to take months, if not years, to actually get any value. But our goal is to get value from, in essence, day one. And you'll hear more about this, I think tomorrow is Jagan's presentation. So from that, the last step is where we had a lot of these integrations coming from the information hub. A lot of these integrations will be moving to our shipbuilding PLM or even our digital hub. And the reason being, if you look at a lot of these integrations, they're not really, in some cases, they're not all focused on work in progress data. It's good in some cases, but in many integrations, you want to actually have a little bit more of a baseline of what data you have. So which ones what you delivered, not what is actually being currently worked on. So last plug, if you guys are not on my blog, you guys should read my blog. It has a lot of this information and much more. And I don't have a thank you slide, but thank you.